What's up guys, we're back. So I recently sold my E46 and picked up a 09 335i Coupe. It's a very clean, well-maintained car. In this video, I'll show you one of the biggest problems that can happen to these cars and how you can avoid it.
If you all talk, you get left in the rear view, waiting for that new book to drop. It's a preview, you say you be everywhere, but we don't ever see you. Everything I was the first, it's the sequel. We live fast and die young, better make your count. The goal is to make change in the world and my bank account. I mean in large amounts, my daughter gotta eat too. And I'm tired of slaving for rich people.
The previous owner of my car took extremely good care of it. He serviced everything on time and provided me documentation for it all. Turns out the car spent most of its life at Paradigm Performance, a very well-known BMW independent shop in Toronto. So all was good and I bought the car. After a summer of hard driving, I noticed an oil leak. It was the very common oil filter housing gasket and oil cooler gaskets. It's a pretty easy job to do, and parts are around $100. So I figured I'd just store the car for the winter and deal with it next summer. Boy, was that a mistake. Here's your oil filter housing and oil cooler right here. Now the problem is that this leaks directly onto your accessory belt. So that accessory belt gets wet with oil, and eventually what happens is it gets damaged and it snaps off. So the belt is spinning, and as it snaps, the crank pulley keeps spinning right in front of the engine right here. And then the belt goes behind the crank pulley and gets sucked into the engine. At that point, the timing chain plays hungry hippos with the belt, chews it all up right there, and shoots shredded belt into your engine. And then you've got shredded belt inside of your oil pan underneath the motor. And what happens is the oil pump is trying to pull oil up so that oil can circulate around the motor. That oil pump at the bottom gets clogged, and you're basically now starving your entire engine of oil. You got maybe a couple minutes tops, and then goodbye engine. So when my belt snapped, I had no idea about any of this. I just heard a really loud bang, and the car felt weird. The battery light came on. I figured something was wrong with my alternator and my belt, but I could still drive the car. So I just drove it home. I was only a couple of blocks away. I didn't think it was a big deal. It's actually quite a common issue, and a lot of people have run into this, but no one's really documented the worst case scenario from happening, how to fix it properly, and prevent it from happening again. So let's take a look. So basically I got stuck here. I got all these bolts off. These are all totally loose all the way around, and the valve cover is ready to come off. But these right here are the ground bolts for the ignition coils. And I have an extended socket, and I went and I even bought a longer one, and they don't fit. Nothing fits on there. Can't get that off. So basically, the whole valve cover is just stuck on because of those 4 bolts there. I looked around, I went to Princess Auto, I went to Home Depot, I went to Rona. No one had anything long enough. And basically I could only find a couple things online in the US, and there was nothing. But then I just searched up BMW ground stud bolts, removal tool I guess, and I found from Tech Pro, which is an industrial company. They have these, which are super long. Basically, you gotta call Tech Pro or Snap-on or one of these like industrial companies that have a tool van that drives around to mechanic shops, and you gotta buy it from them. And you can meet the guy at a shop. I met them at Auto Bliss. I picked this up for like 30 bucks, which is pretty expensive for one socket. But at least I can finish the job now, and I'm not stuck having to order something online and wait for like 2-3 days before I can finish this. And that's it. Alright, so that's the valve cover removed. Look right there. There's a chunk of belt right there. Just sitting there in the chain. And if you look here, there's some bunched up right there. I don't know, I'm gonna pull it out and then Maybe I won't drive the car and I'll just get it towed to a shop and pull the oil pan, get the rest of it out, and then fix it the right way. So I pulled out that piece of belt that was right there and there, and it was going through. I don't really see anything else from up top, but it's hard to tell. I mean, there might be more down there. Alright, well, I got everything buttoned up. Car's just on a trickle charger right now. I'm doing the electric water pump bleeding. And I put the intake back on, cowl cover, everything back on. I put a brand new cabin air filter in there. New blow-off valves right there as well. So I just put these forged blow-off valves with a new vacuum fitting as well. Change this upper radiator hose. And you know, I took the time to replace a whole bunch of stuff. Like I put 6 new spark plugs in there. All the ignition coils are recently changed and they are upgraded, so those are good. The off cover gasket, oil filter housing gasket, oil cooler gasket. So really overhauled a lot of common issues with the car and just wear and tear stuff that I know is gonna go wrong. Fresh coolants in there right now. And you know what? I'm happy I did this because taking everything apart, I actually found the lower charge pipe was damaged. So if you look at this guy right here, here's the lower charge pipe. This sits just like that, right in there. Sits right there instead of that guy. And if you look, this has been damaged in the past. Someone put some JB Weld on here and did a ghetto fix. Not cool, not my style. So I'm happy I did this because I found that and I ended up ordering a VRSF metal lower charge pipe. So that one's aluminum with a coating on it and it's all plugged in, fits perfectly. And it's plugged in at the bottom there to my front mounted intercooler. So here's a picture my mechanic sent me of the oil pan after he pulled it out. You can clearly see pieces of belt sitting in there. Had I not done this the right way, I'd be driving and those pieces of belt could potentially clog my oil pump and cause catastrophic damage. I'm very happy that I addressed this the right way. So that's it. She's all fixed up and running like new again. Now here's everything I replaced on the car. I did the oil filter housing and oil cooler gaskets, spark plugs, cabin air filter, tensioner and pulleys, the accessory belt, the upper radiator hose. I upgraded the lower charge pipe to an aluminum one because I found that crack in the plastic one. I upgraded to forged blow-off valves. I did the front crank seal. I did an oil change and the coolant flush. And I did the oil pan gasket and cleaned that belt material out of my oil pan. So that totals $22.54 plus tax, coming to a grand total of $25.47.02. Ouch. Now that hurt. But keep in mind, had I done all of that work at the shop, it would have been more like $4,000. And I got some nice upgrades in there as well that weren't necessary, but I figured I might as well do it anyways. And I did all of the oil gaskets all at once. So instead of just doing one and then waiting for another to go and another to go and always feeling like you have something wrong with your car, I figured I'd do the overhaul, hit it all in one time, and it's actually not bad for the amount of work that I got done. Also, I could have saved a lot more money had I done the crank seal and the oil pan gasket myself, but in this case I was a lot more comfortable giving that stuff to a shop because I would have to drop the subframe. It's quite a big job and not something I want to do myself in the garage. I'd rather have the pros do it who have done it a bunch of times already. Now the lesson here is, fix oil leaks right away. Don't let them build up and create bigger problems than they need to be. And also, if you do have a problem and you're on the roadside and you're not sure if you can drive your car, just shut it off, call the tow truck, don't take the risk. Because a small problem became a much bigger problem, and I could have fixed this all for a couple $100 had I just towed the car home and done it myself. Just the oil filter housing and oil cooler gaskets. I'm happy the way it happened because I was able to do a lot of stuff at once, things that probably would have went bad anyways. So I'm not complaining. But of course, the grief was not worth it. So if you're in that situation, just call a tow truck, get towed home, don't even risk it. Stay tuned for more BMW N54 related content. I've got a lot of plans for this car and a lot of very good information coming out that's going to help you with yours. If you like the video, hit that like button. If not, go ahead and hit that dislike button. and I'm sorry, not, and make sure to subscribe. Now, to put all my work here to the test, I did take this car to the racetrack, on the drag strip, and on the road course. Stay tuned for that next time on Auto Addiction. Next time on Auto Addiction.
Well, guess what? We're lined up beside the Audi.
To make change in the world and my bank account. I mean in large amounts, my daughter got it